Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I actually admire that you can actually be this fake. And like when the TV comes on, how you can just change. You're the scum of the earth.
The audacity admit I couldn't do it. The art that I couldn't do it. Look at me now. Lebanon, half a pound, headshot dead. That's it.
Welcome back to another episode of Over the Octagon podcast. Today, we are blessed to have another fighter interview with us. We have Frank Wells, who fights for Cage Fury, has an event coming up on April 12th, I believe, Cage Fury 131. You're fighting for the Interim Featherweight Title. Yeah, man. So how do you feel? We talked a little bit before we started. You're a month out. Where are you kind of at in your prep work, I guess, for this one right now?
I mean, right now it's just kind of like weight management and getting my conditioning up, and then like sharpening the tools we're working on for the specific guy.
Yep.
I last fought in December, and then I kind of had this April date on my mind since then. So I didn't know, obviously, it was going to be for a title initially. So, a couple extra rounds booked in there, but I was mentally already gearing up for this day.
Let's go, man.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, it's a good opportunity. Now, how did the interim? Me and him were talking. How did the interim kind of title take place? We're not really familiar, but I know it was the champion's not hurt. I know you fought the champion previously.
Yeah.
How did this kind of interim title come about?
I'm not positive like what's going on with Jose. I didn't really get like details on it.
Mm-hmm.
Arias, the matchmaker, just called me up and he was like, April 12th, Anthony Delemy. He's like, how do you like that? And I was like, sounds good. And he's like, how's it sound for a belt? And I was like, fuck yeah. It was like
even better.
Yeah, I was gonna fight this guy anyway, so with a little extra hardware, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So again, I didn't get details. He just said that he's like not around. So I don't know, what that entails. He's hurt or he's doing something else. I don't know. But so I got that fill-in spot.
So April 12th, Cage Fury 131 for the interim featherweight title. Now you've been fighting for Cage Fury now for a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exclusively as a professional.
I love that. So because it seems like on the regional scene, I mean, we've interviewed a few regional fighters and guys on some of these smaller circuits and things. Like, it seems like guys kind of bounce around a lot. So you've been exclusively with Cage Fury. Now talk to me a little bit about, I've seen your background in kind of kickboxing and Muay Thai.
Yeah.
I know you spent some time in Thailand, which is which is awesome. We love Muay Thai. First of all,
absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I like to hear it.
Yeah, Muay Thai is so underappreciated in the United States. It's not even funny.
Yeah,
it's one of the most exciting combat sports there is. So walk me through kind of your journey, how you got to MMA. I mean, for people that don't know, how did you end up, at this point in your career?
So I started off in MMA when I was like, I think I had my first fight right before I turned 19. So I'm 29 now. So it was a little while ago. I was kind of just bouncing around. I was at like a wrestling club, at like a Krav Maga gym, and I had like just started. I was doing jiu-jitsu for like 6 weeks when I had my first fight. I was just like young, and it was like, I just want to fight. Going crazy,
Right.
So I had a couple fights, and then I found the Muay Thai gym that I'm at now in like April of 2014, and pretty much have been with them since. I had an MMA fight with them. I won. A couple months later, I had a Muay Thai fight or kickboxing fight, and I won by first round knockout. And it was like getting just an injection of just endorphins and like whatever. Yeah. So that became like the majority of my fights over the next like 4 or 5 years. So I kind of backed off MMA. My first 4 fights were MMA, and then I had another 3 MMA fights over the course of like 4 years or something like that, and a ton of Muay Thai fights. I ended up having 26 fights in Muay Thai in in the States. I did a tournament in Europe. I fought in Thailand a little bit. So like I bounced around. And I was training at Nick Catone's gym as well and teaching there in Jersey. And I was constantly sparring all of Mark Henry's like really good guys. So I was sparring Marlon Moraes and Edson and Paul Felder and Zabit and Eddie Alvarez and like all these like monsters and doing pretty well striking, but it was MMA sparring. So like they were kind of, the striking rounds were like touch and go. And then if they like almost didn't even really grapple because I wasn't training it that much at the time. Then I was exclusively doing Muay Thai then. I came in one day for sparring, and none of those big name guys were there. And I ended up getting rounds in with a couple guys that were like 4-0, 5-0, 7-1 on the regional scene, and just tooled them up striking wise. And I was like, oh yeah, if I do MMA, I'm not going to jump into like the top 5 in the world right away. Like, so it's not like I suck. It's just I've only been going against the top of the top of the top.
Yes.
So it's like, all right. So I finished the year out doing Muay Thai in like 2019. I had my last Muay Thai fight, and then started gearing up towards MMA. And then my pro debut got canceled when the COVID shut the whole country down. It canceled like 9 days before. Is when they were like, we're shutting down the bars and the restaurants and the gyms and all that stuff. So then obviously CFC had to cancel. And then I pretty much just been MMA since then. I pretty much had that same matchup just in October instead of March, and then been rolling with them since.
We're witnessing the comeback right here then, man. This is pretty fresh.
Yeah.
It's MMA. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been training exclusively MMA for like this end of the summer will be like 5 years.
Awesome. And I see your shirt, and I did some research on you. You trained with Renzo Granci, the camp?
Yeah. So I've been there since like right before that fight, actually.
Really?
Right before that fight in 2020. I started going there again for like a month or two here and there, and then COVID shut everything down. Then I was going there a little bit more post-COVID, and then I just made the jump full-time. My wife was girlfriend at the time was working there, and she kind of like convinced me to go there a little bit more, and the quality was really good, obviously. So, I've been mostly there since.
That's awesome, man. That's a huge name,
Yeah.
That's awesome. We were looking up some of your stats too, man, that you fought Anderson Silva. Is that what I'm seeing?
that is like if you ever watch the fights in CFFC, John Morgan makes sure to make a point of that, like every time on the walkout.
Really?
Yeah, I was like 1-3 as an amateur or something at the time, and I had been with the Muay Thai gym that I'm at now for like 7-8 months at the time, and my coach called me. He's like, "I got a fight for you." I was like, "All right." He's like, "Anderson Silva." I was like, "Okay."
So
yeah, I remember that. That was on New Year's Eve. Was when they.
So hold on a
got
second.
the
Hold on
call
a second.
for that.
Hold on. Time out. Just to be clear, is this like there's another Anderson Silva with the same name?
Yeah, it was Anderson Silva from Hoboken. Not yeah. So I remember some of my family that like
awesome.
wasn't really involved in MMA, but they like cared about me. So they were like Googling Anderson Silva, and they're like, fuck. Like,
don't do
it. You might be in trouble, but I was like, it's not that guy.
Frank, I don't think we should take this fight, dude. I don't know if we're ready for this.
1-3 as an Emmy, right to the greatest.
Yeah. And you won.
Like, won.
That if you're a better man than me, because that would be in every bio that I have on every social media.
Same. Yeah.
Beat Anderson Silva. Fucking Google it. Tell me I'm lying. Google
You know
it.
how
I'm not here for an argument.
You know how numbers get retired in sports? I feel like names should as well. It's like, man, you can't call yourself Anderson Silva in an MMA match.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what that dude's mama named him. He's got to fucking change it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or just not be a fighter. Or you just can't be a fighter.
Yeah, do something else. Yeah, and that was like 2014 too. So that was Anderson was still like the guy.
Yeah, the man. So all right, man. So we got a little history of your fight experience. We know you're about to fight for this interim belt, Cage Fury 131. Talk to me a little bit about life outside of fighting, right? So I understand. I think you just had a baby recently, right?
I did. So her first birthday is actually on the day of the fight.
No
Yeah.
way, dude.
So I already got the picture set up in my head afterwards. But yeah, so she's about a year, and then we have another one coming in June. So my wife,
Congratulations.
thanks, man. Yeah, wife's been hustling, but we were like, let's just get this out of the way, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been busy. That's been a lot on the plate, but it's been pretty good overall.
What is that like? I mean, I feel like so much, fans of fighting and MMA fans, we focus so much on the actual fighting, and then you hear little tidbits about people's lives outside of that, right? And I mean, this is a full-time thing for you, right? Like you have another job, I'm assuming, or something you do to make money outside of fighting. But then you train fighting, pretty full time, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a kid, also a wife, another kid on the way. Like,
the grind.
How do you? Yeah, I mean, what a absolute full plate. What do you think like the key for you is to kind of manage all that stuff?
Just kind of like accepting that it's going to be chaos. To be honest, like when you think that you're going to get a rest and then you get like railroaded by like something else, that really is more defeating than just being like, all right, it's going to be just like this and this and this and this and this, like the whole day, more or less, Yeah. And also my wife had a son before I met her as well. So, he's going to be 9 in June. So it's like, we just are figuring it out like day by day, but it's like getting him to jiu-jitsu or getting him to like other sports or to his friend's house and like managing the baby. My wife does a really, really good job of taking care of the baby and like getting house stuff done. So I can just kind of like, I'll help out with the baby when I'm home. And like, he's my son now. Her son from the previous marriage is, he does jujitsu and he is like nearby, and he's also doing like Muay Thai and wrestling, but at my gym. So like that makes
awesome.
It a little bit easier. Is like half the time I'm teaching the class, or like I'm just there training clients, because like that's my income outside of it. Is like I run a nutrition thing where I help fighters make weight.
I saw that,
but then also just like holding pads or like lifting weights, stuff like that. So I'm in the gym like constantly. And then just to have them in there, like part of their activities is at my work, definitely makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Dude, if my father was at a MMA gym coaching, helping out like that, I'd be like, yeah, let me just be there for 4 hours all day with him, get as much class as I can get in.
Yeah.
So you're like a nutrition coach.
Correct. Yeah.
That's one of the most slept on things, man. I talk to a lot of people, like, do you have a specific meal you eat after you weigh in that's not going to slow you down, fuck you up?
I wouldn't say necessarily a specific meal, but it's just like just a process of things after we weigh in. So like when you're cutting a decent amount of weight, like most guys are doing, and like I do too, it's usually like 11, 12 pounds of water, and then you're fasting before that. But it's just like slowly putting things back in, because you want to like chug a bunch of water and eat a steak and all that stuff, but it's like we're just trying to like keep it slow and kind of like build up throughout the day after your weigh-ins, to like just not disrupt your GI tract, and like make sure you're actually absorbing the stuff that you're eating and drinking. And I help people out with like, the 10 days to 3 weeks before the weigh-ins, and like through the weight cut, and then through the rehydration as well. So it's a pretty good system. And obviously I run through it myself. I actually happen to live like 30 minutes from Mike Dolce, who was the man for years, helping like Johnny Hendricks when he didn't have weight problems, and worked with Kelvin Gastelum and Ronda Rousey and a couple other guys that I'm forgetting. But, he's like won MMA Trainer of the Year like 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Then he happened to be running like a nutrition thing and a separate weight cut seminar. Again, like not even a half hour from my house.
That's
So
amazing.
doing that was like really, really clutch, you know. And then obviously, again, I use it for myself, and then I employ that on all the fighters and jiu-jitsu guys that I work with.
So now we're talking about weight. You fought at lightweight also, right? You fought at featherweight, you fight at lightweight. What is kind of the, I guess, if you had to stay consistent and choose, right, and stick to kind of a weight class, where do you feel the most comfortable? That's kind of a weird question, I guess, because comfortable might not be the right word. I guess 155 is probably more comfortable, but
right.
I mean, how do you feel fighting at 145?
Yeah, so obviously like 45 is tougher to make because 10 extra
10 more
pounds. So
yeah.
I mean, I think it definitely forces me to eat better. So my energy's pretty good. And like, I think my body functions better. I feel better. It's also nice at 155 to like eat as much as I want and then just train really hard. And I'm within that shooting range of weight all the time. So definitely 55 is nicer in that sense. But then also I fought a dude in September who was like a real 155er, and it was like running into a brick wall. I was like, this is hard.
So he's really 175 pounds.
Yeah, probably more than that. Yeah, he was like super
Damn.
big, you know.
So how do you guys do weigh-ins at Cage Fury? What's your weigh-in I guess day look like? Is it day before, day of? What's that process look like?
Yeah, so all the professional fights are going to be day before.
Yep.
Then I think just based on the fight time and the venue, the actual weigh-in time varies. So like there's times I've weighed in at 1 p.m., there's times I've weighed in at 5 p.m. I'm assuming that's just based on like either the commission schedule or like the venue's availability to hold the weigh-ins. I'm not exactly sure what dictates that, but it's always the day before.
Right. Okay. And you have, a decent amount, enough time, 24 hours or so, to kind of get yourself rehydrated.
Yeah.
And ready to go before your fight on, well, you guys fight on Friday nights.
Yeah, well, for this one, yeah. So we're gonna be CFFC's on Fight Pass, so I know they're not allowed to run shows the same time as UFC.
Obviously, yeah.
So like they just kind of work around their schedule with that. So yeah, it's gonna be weigh-ins on Thursday. Again, we get the itinerary like the week of, so I'm not sure what time, but then usually it's like at the latest, it's like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock for the weigh-ins, no later than that. And then the fights never start until like 7.
Right.
So we have a pretty adequate amount of time, and then fighting for the belt is going to be towards the back end of the card. So, I mean, realistically, I'll probably have closer to like 30 hours at the minimum. And then usually for 145, I'll get back in the cage somewhere between like 159 and 162.
Okay.
Is like the kind of sweet spot.
So you're not too much of a weight bully, I guess. Not like some of these guys cutting to 140. Like I always, every time we talk about this, I always like have that image of McGregor back in the day weighing in at 145, looking like a fucking zombie, completely sucked dry, and then like putting on 30 pounds. It seemed like overnight.
Yeah. Well, they had that last when Volkan Topuria just fought in California. They have you weighing the next day, and they were both like 166, 167.
Yep.
That's like, I came in once at 165 the next day, and I did not feel great. Like, even though it's an extra 3 pounds, I just felt like sluggish. Like, just felt like just kind of stuck in the floor a little bit, So I don't think it's great to always like. I'm sure they feel great, and they probably do that frequently, so that's what's good for them. But for me personally, it's like that's a little much.
Yeah.
I spend the last like 2 or 3 weeks before the fight in like that 159, 162 range weight wise. So I think my body's just used to moving around at that weight, and that feels good.
Oh yeah. Not a Jurassic cut, right?
No.
Yeah. We had a good friend of the show. He's been on with us now 3 times. Fights up in Massachusetts. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. His name's Joe Giannetti. He fought at lightweight, prefers to fight at lightweight, but has fought at welterweight. in, the regional scene. And his last fight, he won the lightweight title for the regional promotion in Massachusetts at lightweight, and basically said kind of similar to what you did, right? Like when you fight at lightweight, like it's just a lot easier, you're so much closer to that weight. He said the same thing, like kind of just work out really hard. And then day before, whatever, he had like 2 pounds to cut. He hopped in the sauna and got it done. It's a lot less stressful than cutting down to 155 for him, or for you, 145.
Yeah. And that's like, because you said with like weight bully before, it's like I'm kind of in that in between range where it's like I'm pretty big for 45, but
well, you're also
small.
You're also what, 6 feet tall, 5'11", something like that.
Like 5'10", 5'11", yeah.
Oh, that's tall for it. That's good.
It's like I don't look fantastic on the scale at 45 ever. It's like definitely pretty drained out, but it's very doable. And then, but again, like going against a guy that was a true 55er was like, man, this is hard to move this guy around.
Right.
It didn't seem like it was that hard for him to move me around. And it's not like he was an elite skilled guy. That's kind of why I was willing to take the fight. I was like, I'll give up the size because I think there's a skill disparity. Mm-hmm. But even then was like, again, I wanted to grapple with him a bit more, and I just couldn't move the dude. And I was like, all right.
Was that the fight where you won by leg kicks?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So I said I wanted to wrestle that guy a bit more. And he just came out whipping head kicks right away. I was like, all right, that's a little like concerning to be shooting towards that. And then I went to put him up against the cage, and he turned me, and I had to put like my whole soul into like turning him, and then he just turned me right back. And I was like,
oh God,
shit, man. I was like, this is tough, And
that's gotta be a little defeating in the moment, right? Like, fuck. All right.
Yeah, I remember literally being against the cage. I was like, this can be a fucking long day. I was like, we're going to have to figure something else out. And then, I started throwing leg kicks, and I could see pretty clearly that he had terrible reactions to him. So I was like, we're just going to keep hammering this until he does something about it. And then he didn't. So I was like, cool.
No way.
That's like one of my favorite things to see too in any MMA fight. Somebody just get brutalized with leg kicks. We just saw it
last
in
night.
Kudalaba.
And we just
that bubbling on his leg.
And then last week, Oliveira, who ended up getting the knockout with a fucking flying knee, but he really got the knockout with a flying knee because he beat up Sopaj, I think the guy's name was. He was making a UFC debut. He beat his leg up so bad he hit him with another leg kick. The guy couldn't walk. I mean, he was like stumbling back, limping. Kind of limped his way into a flying knee.
Yeah, that's rough.
But it just speaks to the skill, and all the weapons. So you've been training MMA heavily, now for a while. Do you feel like your grappling is starting to get at the level, that the striking is, or do you consider yourself still primarily, a striker, or what do you think your style nowadays is?
I think the striking is still above where my grappling's at for sure. But last year I spent a lot of time working on that grappling, just because I knew it was a gap that I had to close, and I've been working on it, but I had some injuries and stuff. Like I broke my hand, and I had like some other stuff going on. So I wasn't able to strike as much, and I was just doing grappling tournaments. I was just doing a lot of wall wrestling. I was limited in my training, so I was putting a lot more stock into grappling for sure.
Love it. I love it. All right, man. Well, listen, let's we'll close this out. I will I'm going to catch your fight April 12th in Atlantic City. I got a group of fucking guys. We're all going. We got hotel rooms. Actually my boss bought the tickets already. Got a bunch of guys from work, so we're going to have a good time, good weekend. Anybody you want to shout out, any social medias you want to kind of promote, anything like that before we end?
If the folks just want to follow at Tank Jitsu, posting, training all the time and updates for the fights and highlights and stuff like that. Always, again, appreciative of my family, my friends, my training partners, everybody and my coaches that are helping me get better and putting their time into me. That's about it.
Well, listen, we'll anybody that's watching the video or listen to the podcast, we'll put Frank's social media links and stuff like that down in the description. Make sure you go visit his page, give him a follow, show some love on his posts. And if you're not already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, leave a comment, talk some shit on his opponent, tell him how he's gonna fucking knock him the fuck out. Let us know. Yeah, let us know. And if you're going to be in Atlantic City on April 12th, tell us, man. I'm going to be there trying to link up with some people, some fighters, whoever, and just have an overall good weekend. But with that one, man, we'll catch you later. Nasty. I'll talk to you, my friend. And let's keep it hot.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. And I'll catch you guys after the fight for sure.
Hell yeah.
Definitely, bro.